Auburn has a lot of unanswered questions so far this offseason. The biggest one is Auburn's starting quarterback currently on the roster.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn's daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. And joining us as he does every Wednesday, Mike G of the War Rapport. Happy War Rapport Wednesday to all who celebrate. And Mike G, today, I want us to take a stab at answering the biggest three questions, unanswered questions of the offseason for the Tigers so far.
Let's do it.
The biggest, you heard it at the top just then, is Auburn's starting quarterback currently on campus, Mike G.
I'm going to go with yes.
Wow.
Now, if you follow the War Rapport, we recently interviewed Coach Hugh Freeze. And quarterback came up and, he mentioned he has not coached any of these guys a single down yet. But interestingly enough, when he mentioned the quarterbacks, he mentioned TJ Finley. And I thought that was interesting. So it means that TJ at least plans to go through the spring and compete, I think. There was a lot of speculation that he was an automatic transfer. That still may happen. But, at the end of the day, Coach Hugh Freeze is looking at Robbie Ashford, Holden Gardner, and TJ Finley as his quarterbacks. I think it's going to be really hard for them to get a quality starting quarterback in the second portal period. So I'm going to go with yes.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that last part, but I do think it's interesting, like the TJ Finley thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mike G, can you imagine if TJ Finley's the first quarterback to take snaps today?
Fans are going to lose their minds over this, right?
I just can you do that from like a building, the morale of the fan base? Like, can you do that?
I think that for somebody who's touted himself as a quarterback guru and a developer, that you don't care. If you have deemed that he is your guy,
yeah, you're right.
He's not going to care. He's not going to care what people think.
Right.
So, I mean, here's the deal. And before anybody says, oh, Mike G's back on the TJ Finley train, right? Like, I read those stupid comments, Zach. This is out of the coach's mouth.
Yeah.
Right? This is out of the coach's mouth. So, we've only ever talked about what the coaches say. And he has mentioned TJ in this race. And so it's kind of been a forgotten storyline. And I think it's worth mentioning. So, I still think that Robbie Ashford has the leg up in terms of what's on tape and having played most of the season and what he can do with his legs. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. Go watch that interview we did with Coach Hugh Freeze. We asked him a lot of really interesting questions pertaining to this.
Do you think he's sending a message when he says stuff like that? Or do you think he's just being candid?
I think two things can be true.
Okay, that's fair.
He is candidly sending a message.
That's fair. That's fair. I think there's a chance, and this is all said and done. First off, my answer to this is no. I don't think Auburn's starting quarterback is currently on campus. I think there's a lot of things, especially with NIL, that can be done throughout the spring.
Okay.
And I think Grayson McCall is also an interesting thing. Like, can he graduate?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of variables at play here. But I just think Hugh Freeze is going to do whatever it takes to get his guy. And if his guy is not on the roster, he's going to go get his guy from somewhere.
Well, he mentioned, Zach, that, I asked him this question straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going after a quarterback in the second portal period? And he said it depends a lot on what happens this spring. So when you say that, that's to say that you don't think that any of these guys are going to step up this spring and close the door on that opportunity.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, but also, what else is he going to say to that question, though? You know what I mean? Like, if he says yes, and it's like, well, you don't know who's in the portal. Like, but can't you hear it now? Oh, he's tampering, Mike G. He's tampering. Like, can't you hear that? Like, people screaming it from the rooftops already?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the answer could have sounded something like, well, we're always trying to improve the roster, and if there's somebody out there that wants to play here and we feel like they're going to fit, we're going to go after them.
Isn't that the same answer, though? It depends what happens in the spring? Like, isn't that the same thing?
Not quite.
Okay.
I think that he really wants to see what these guys are going to do and if they take the next step during the spring. And I do think that will dictate how aggressively they go after a quarterback. If somebody steps up. Now, mind you, and it's not just somebody, it's two somebodies, because you got to have two guys that can do the job in the SEC. You can't just have one. So they still might go after somebody, even if, Robbie or TJ or Holden has an outstanding spring.
Yeah. I think there's a chance that Holden is the biggest stock riser in the quarterback room in spring.
100%.
And I don't know, I think Holden's ability is awesome. His throwing motion is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. He's got a lot more to figure out, right? The leadership aspect and all that. But if Hugh Freeze just doesn't see it in Robbie or TJ, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, no clue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really easy to see Holden Geriner in a Hugh Freeze offense.
Well,
Robbie too, but I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know how that exactly works.
Let me give you this, Zach, right? Coach Hugh Freeze was also quoted as saying it's hard to evaluate these guys when they're running for their life, and that was a shot at the previous
100%.
offensive line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the person who benefits the most from a retooled offensive line, I think, is Holden Geriner, right? TJ. Right. Because those guys need the protection a little more than Robbie does, right? When we saw what Robbie Ashford can do with his legs when plays break down. He's a dynamic athlete. He's an elite athlete. But I think that Coach Hugh Freeze is going to want a guy who's going to play from the pocket and uses athleticism when needed. And I think that Holden benefits if this O-line, this retooled O-line, is as good as they hope it's going to be.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to leadership. And I don't know who the best leader of the three quarterbacks is.
Yeah.
Do you? Do you have a guess? I mean,
No.
I can't even guess.
No. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see. I'm going to wait to see what the coaches say on this one. I don't think it's fair to opine on this right now, but
no question. No question. And I think it's going to be valuable to hear what happens in practice. I think it's going to be valuable to see, who trots out with the ones more than the other guys, and ultimately who stays on the team, right? Because we talk about TJ, but Geriner can do the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. TJ can grad transfer. Holden's going to have the ability to use his free transfer. The only guy that's really stuck is Robbie. So we'll see what exactly that looks like. But still, needless to say, probably it's the biggest unanswered question so far this offseason. My number 2 biggest unanswered question this offseason so far, Mike G, where is Cam Riley on the linebacker depth chart? We will tackle this one next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook. It's midway through the NBA season, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Look, you can get in on this thing, and you have a no-sweat first bet if you're new to FanDuel, up to $1,000. That's all in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So you're telling me there's no sweat to it. There's no reason not to try this thing. And it's so fun just following along with their lines throughout the Super Bowl. It's a fun way to get involved in the action. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, easy to use. You get deposits quickly. It's great. Don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Mike G of the War Rapport joining us as he does every Wednesday. Mike G, in your mind, where is Cam Riley right now in the linebacker depth chart? Because, right, things go along with that. Because when you answer that question, then it's like, okay, then where is Austin Keys, the Ole Miss transfer? Where is DeMario Tolan, the LSU transfer? What do you think about Wesley Steiner? It's a pretty loaded question about wherever Cam Riley is, everybody else then kind of falls into place.
Well, outside of quarterback, this is the other position group with the most question marks. Yeah. And, I think that he's pretty high up on this depth chart. I would put him at a 1 right now. Okay. I've got Cam Riley as a starter right now.
How much of that, Mike G, I agree with you. How much of that is by default? Like you're just the guy, from a year ago that's left over since Owen Papo went on? How much of that is by default? How much of that is like you think he's better than DeMario Tolan and Austin Keys?
I think he's good. And
Yeah.
I think that he showed flashes of brilliance last year. I don't think that they were a very well-coached group last year.
That's it. You nailed it. That's the
you're right.
take.
And I think that if they're a better coached group this year, that Cam Riley shines in this defense here with Ron Roberts. So, we'll see what it looks like. They're going to, I got a chance to talk to Ron Roberts at the media kind of scrum that we had a few weeks ago and asked the question about playing a 4-3 versus a 3-4. And we talked about the edge. He said that he wants a hybrid linebacker that can put his hands in the dirt, right? So they're playing 3 down linemen with a guy who could just move to the line, put his down, and then just bum rush off the edge, right? So there's going to be an opportunity for a lot of linebackers to play.
Are you saying that's Cam Riley that's going to be doing that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Right, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, four linebackers on the field, and I got Cam Riley in the starting lineup right now, unless he proves otherwise this spring.
His physical ability is second to none, right? I think that's pretty obvious just when you look at the specimen that he is. He looked lost at times, and I don't know. I don't think any of like Auburn's linebackers really like looked a lot better. I don't think any of them played better than like they were. And so to me, I look at coaching last year. I mean, Owen Papo, we should feel terrible about how he was used at Auburn. Like I hate it for him.
Right.
And like Cam Riley, nobody ever seemed to position. I mean, even the first year under Harsin, like was a different linebackers coach. But still, they just never really seemed – their first step never seemed to be, like, correct, Mike G. You know what I mean? And then after that, it's just the plays happen so fast. If you miss that first step, you're always out of it. The angles were always bad. It didn't matter if it was Cam Riley, Owen Papo, Wesley Steiner. It didn't matter who it was. It just never really looked right. Yeah. And I think Ron Roberts coming in is going to help linebackers a ton. He did a lot for the linebackers at Baylor. I think he'll do a lot for the linebackers. And if that's the case, I think Cam Riley's the biggest winner in all of this.
Yeah, listen, it was tough last year watching the linebackers who are physically talented just not know what to do, right? And when I say that, I mean choosing the wrong gaps, letting rushers just walk into the end zone at times. Right. It was painful to watch, and that's something that's definitely got to improve in 2023 if Auburn expects to be better than last year, because the SEC West isn't getting any easier right now. Another question, that we posed to the head football coach about, there are a lot of talented coaches, man, and you're going to be going up against some dynamic defenses, and they've all got talent. Everybody's got dudes, Zach, right? Auburn needs some dudes that know what they're doing, and at linebacker, it's really important that you can protect the second level of the defense, especially in the run game.
That's right. That's right, Mike G. And so, I like Cam Riley's ability. I love DeMario Tolan. Like, if you told me DeMario Tolan was going to be the starting linebacker in September, he's going to be the number one guy, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now, something against Cam Riley. I just think DeMario Tolan's really, really good and didn't really get a whole lot of opportunities at LSU. But when he played, dang, he looked really, really impressive, especially when he was asked to do things like spy and Bryce Young and things like that. We can use that. We can certainly use that. I think Austin Keys is just a piece, which isn't bad. Once again, nothing against Austin Keys. I just like the upside of the other two guys a little bit more. That's my early stab at this depth chart. All right. Who is Auburn's number one wide receiver? That is our third unanswered question that we will take a stab at in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Mike G, I got to tell you, yesterday, my family, we went to Alumni Hall.
Ooh.
Went to Alumni Hall,
Okay.
the one in Tiger Town.
Okay.
I got this awesome hat, little for baseball season, the digital camo action. Got an Auburn pullover. I'm repping that. My wife got a hoodie, which looks comfortable as mess. She's actually asleep right now as I record this, in the hoodie. That's how comfortable it is. Alumni Hall, they've got awesome stuff all over the place. Be sure to check it out. All of it officially licensed by Auburn, so you know what you're getting. Good, solid, quality stuff. They've got a location in Opelika, in Auburn, and in Huntsville. And if you are an out-of-towner or just don't want to go to a physical store, alumnihall.com. Be sure to give them some love.
Might stop by on my way up to the game today, Zach.
Ooh, let's go. Let's go. Yeah. alumnihall.com. Mike G, you and I talked about this. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but this speculation on Auburn's number one wide receiver. I'm not going to lie to you. I think you changed my mind some because I've been going along with the Camden Brown. And the more I look at snap counts from a year ago, I did a lot of that in the show earlier this week.
Say it.
I think it is Coy Moore.
My man.
I think it is Coy Moore.
Wait, was that my Denzel voice? My man. Right.
My man.
My man.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's certainly, I think it's him. And you look at what he's capable of doing, and it's just like, did he underachieve? Was he not used correctly? I don't know exactly what it was, but just Coy Moore's ability is great. But also, on the other side of the coin, if you want to tell me that Camden Brown has the most upside, I'm cool with that. And if you want to tell me that Javarius Johnson is the best wide receiver on this roster, I'm cool with that too. But if I had to pick right now who leads Auburn in receiving, not catches, not touchdowns, just overall yardage, I'm saying Coy Moore right now.
Let's be clear. Every wide receiver on this roster that saw time on the field was a victim of a poor offensive scheme. The first 3 games of the season, or 4 games of the season, Auburn had no offensive identity. It was awful. Around LSU, they tried something different, and then you saw these guys start to make plays down the field. Now, Coy Moore is a guy who believes in himself to the umpteenth degree.
What did he say on y'all's show last year that like he was going to get 2 1,000-yard receivers this year?
He thinks that they have two 1,000-yard receivers in that room. What he didn't know was the system wasn't going to ever allow for that, right? Like, there was not going to allow for that. I mean, not unless
we
they
had
were
2,000 yards last year. No, that's
Right.
a joke. That's a joke, but still, like, kind of felt like
But
a worthy question at some point.
It was a little bit of hyperbole, but like, his point was that he feels like the talent is in the room, and
it is.
They just need a chance to show it. Yep. So I think they're going to get that chance because Hugh Freeze's leading receiver averages around 850 yards receiving every single year. And I think that Hugh is going to make sure from the quarterback standpoint that those guys get that opportunity. Now, don't be surprised if you see a tight end emerge as one of those 2 leading receivers in this offense. But I do think Coy Moore is Auburn needs dudes. Coy Moore is a dude.
So tight end, Landon King, or are you talking about somebody else?
Well, TBD. I don't want to commit there. I don't want to commit a tight end because there's a lot of interesting things happening in that room, and I think that is a very dynamic room as well too.
I think Rivaldo's the only one that's going to catch more than like 20 or 30 passes, though.
They seem really excited about Rivaldo Fairweather. I don't want to disrespect any of the incumbents, but like
that's not their skill set, though. They weren't brought in to stretch the field. They were brought in to block all the other guys.
Yeah, right. I mean, don't tell them
and then like Michael Riley Ducker, like I just don't think it's his time yet. I think he's pretty dang good. It's just not his time quite yet. But wait, are you disagreeing with me on that?
No. I mean, I'm just like I'm TBD on all of this with the tight end room. Yeah, I'm very non-committal.
I didn't know what you meant by that. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Coy Moore, more or less 500 yards.
More.
Camden Brown, more or less 500 yards.
More.
Rivaldo Fairweather, more or less 500 yards.
Less.
Javarius Johnson, more or less 500.
More.
Interesting. Okay. And then Jay Fair, you love him.
I do love him.
More or less.
Where is he going to land right now? Again, I'm not going to commit on Jay Fair, TBD, but like I want to see this spring how they use him. And again, he's got a lot of quick burst speed. He can get away from guys in the middle of the field, right? He's got solid hands. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. And he is a guy who's Hugh Freeze talked about guys who show up on lists, right? Don't show up on a list. Don't park in the wrong place. Don't be getting parking tickets. Don't miss study hall.
Jay Fair is not showing up on a list.
He's not showing up on anybody's list, right? The only list he's showing up on is the top of whatever the performance is for the day. He's showing at the top GPA. He's showing up on that list, right?
Do you think Jay Fair brings his lunch pail to work?
I think he brings it to the bathroom, the shower. I think
he's a big lunch pail guy.
Yeah, he's ready to work no matter where the work is.
What do you think the number one item in Jay Fair's lunch pail is? It's like a PBJ sandwich, just like safe, routine,
no. Bologna
classic.
and mayonnaise sandwich. Yeah.
Bologna and mayonnaise.
Yeah. That's Gully, right? He's Gully, right? Like he just need a lot, man. He just needs the basics. Just give me a football. Let me go play.
Okay.
I don't need no extras, right?
I got it. Okay.
Bologna.
Right. Jarquez Hunter, more or less 500 receiving yards.
More. This is gonna be crazy. Listen, he is an I don't know if I can say underrated. I think everybody recognizes that
we're
he can catch
all
the ball.
pretty high. I mean, we're hyping him up. Let's don't kid ourselves here.
Yeah. Like, let's be real. He can catch. And I think depending on who the quarterback is, a lot of those safety net passes with the running back just kind of chipping on the block and leaking out of the backfield, I could see him doing that a lot this year.
I mean, I almost think it's quarterback proof, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Robbie or TJ or Holden or somebody else. I mean, I think this is going to be part of that check down part of the offense. And just we talked about this yesterday on the show, Mike G, but this almost seemed like a marketing push. Like Jarquez Hunter's the dude. Like Jarquez Hunter is that guy. Jarquez Hunter is him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, barring injury, he's the only guy. He's one of the only guys on this team on offense that I have no questions about where he stands on the depth chart. Right? Like, I mean, think about it right now. Think that's tight end, wide receiver, quarterback.
Jeremiah Wright.
Yeah, I mean,
if you saw somebody else at left guard, would you be surprised? I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. But I'm just saying the obvious is Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah,
right?
No, I get it. I'm just nitpicking. Yeah, I'm with you.
His position is not in flux. I think he's the most solid guy on that offense.
I'm with you. Mike G, how can people give you some love, brother? What all's going on?
Visit us at the War Rapport on YouTube. Check us out on Twitter. We're dropping a bunch of cool stuff this week, Zach. So go check out all that content. Coach Hugh Freeze sat down with us for a great interview. And we can't wait to share that with everybody.
When is that coming out, Mike?
Thursday morning, 9 a.m.
Perfect. Yeah, be sure to check that out tomorrow morning. Find all my written work at auburndaily.com. We will see you tomorrow. Little Cruton Thursday action with John Garcia. Can Auburn flip some Georgia Bulldogs? We discussed that tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.